everyone, and JoDee Neal and April Roberts. And today we are going to talk about branding through image. What does that mean? What does that look like? And how does that serve you? I'm going to ask you first, JoDee. What do you think about when you are working to make a certain image related to the things that you're pursuing in your career?
Yeah, I think a lot about my audience and what's going to delight them. I think about the content, is this a day where I might have a medical examiner on the stand? Do I need to feel solemn? I see my image as a way to communicate non-verbally other emotions, directives. So it's a very powerful way, especially for a female lawyer, to communicate.
Ooh, nice. All right, April.
I agree. In my financial practice, so one thing I did is when I went to industry events, because there could be hundreds or thousands of other advisors there, right? And I always wore a jewel tone dress, heels, and perfectly coiffed, right? Mm-hmm. And very quickly, everyone knows who you are. Mm-hmm. And so this led to me being asked to speak, getting paid to speak, everyone knowing you, everyone wanting to know how they can help you, etc. Mm-hmm. And even I had an all-female team, and I was like, here's how you dress when we go to events. Mm-hmm. This is what we're going to look like. So we were known as a team. And you really can brand yourself and get attention just by showing up consistently.
I really love that. I hadn't even considered that. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you're trying to convey a message and you're trying to show branding or team color is really important. Yeah. Matching is really important. If somebody is just trying to get started in this, right? They don't know anything about branding. They're trying to do social media. They're trying to start their own company. What would be your advice? And we'll go first with you. What would be your advice as to maybe the top 3 things you should focus on if you're trying to create a brand for yourself?
Mm-hmm. For anybody or a lawyer? A lady lawyer?
A lady lawyer or an entrepreneur, whatever
yes, too.
Somebody that has their own business, maybe?
I would say if you want to be public facing, I would start with practicing in front of the camera and getting your face the way you want it to be on camera. Really figuring out what's the makeup, what's the halo, what's going to be my signature hair. I'm red, you've got this vixen-y dark one, I love it. And then, what's your core color palette? Mm-hmm. Do you feel like your practice or your endeavor is about light? Okay, buy a bunch of white, cream, neutrals, and build off of that. Or are you out to slit some throats and you want to wear a lot of red?
Sometimes it's a red day.
Yeah. And, I would say just be excited about showing up. I feel like it means so much to the clients when you show up, you're put together, you have your face on, you've got your halo light, and, it makes them feel seen and witnessed.
Yeah.
So that's what I would recommend. Exactly. Yeah. And they are.
They are special, very special. All right, April, how about you?
So a very easy tip that I learned from a stylist client of mine is know your color palette that you should be wearing. So I always wore jewel tones, and my branding is jewel tones, and then I learned I'm a winter bright, which all my casual clothes were actually winter bright, but I didn't think it was professional enough. But especially if you're on stage or camera, if you're in the correct color palette, they notice you, not the color you're wearing.
Oh, really?
If you're wearing the wrong color, it might be beautiful and you might look great, but they notice what you're wearing and not your face. Mm-hmm. So what do you want to draw attention to? That would be one thing. And then second, because I am not perfectly coiffed and polished all the time, even though you saw my picture in a gown. I have fun with it. Sometimes I'm in a gown, sometimes I'm in yoga pants, right? This is the world we live in on social media. And so my new way of doing it is I have my closet organized by 3 colors. This is one of my custom colors. And so if I'm in running gear, you're going to see me in this color. You're going to see me in this color in a podcast. And then I have 2 other colors too. So at least I'm showing up consistently so you can brand yourself that way as well.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. I love that. One other thing that I was thinking is kind of messaging, right? What we say, what's important to us, somehow telling a story so that you're drawing, like we were talking about in our last episode, drawing energy in a certain way. Like, how do you decide what your story should be so that you can connect with people without even speaking to them? I'll go with you first, April. How do you do that?
That's interesting. So I want to say it extends beyond you. So I had a TV show for my financial firm. I gave dinner seminars. I had events. We always had the same floral arrangement, right? So it wasn't just me. And so just remember that people like consistency and they like to be thrilled and delighted. So you want to blend like the longest running shows. We were talking about Law and Order SVU.
Yeah.
It's the same format every week. It's just a different psychopath doing the crime, right? And so this is what equals longevity. And when you start looking at that and putting it into your story, it's very impactful. And also, you were talking about drawing in court. I learned, it's so funny, I had a director of first impressions, a receptionist who was a trust fund baby, did not want the job, did not last long, but she came to my dinner seminar and she was like, why don't you have more images? Like, why don't you have a screen? Because I just had whiteboard and it worked very well because I looked like I was the expert. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh, so like I told a story for years about hiking the Grand Canyon. Next one, I put a picture of the Grand Canyon behind me on the screen. I walked around and everyone's like, I loved your story. I had been telling it for years. They suddenly remembered because of this impactful image behind me. So the visual combined with what you're saying and the story you're telling is so powerful.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. How about you, JoDee?
Can you repeat the question?
I can repeat the question.
I got lost in the Grand Canyon. I'm thinking of the Hopi people and
No. So how do you come up with your story? Like, how do you write your story so that it's consistent with who you are feeling at that moment, who you are, who you want to be, and who you want to convey in that moment in your career, in your business, for your trial? You know, how do you come up with the right tone, the right story?
Yeah, that's a great question. And what I have learned over the years is, to get to the real core issue. What is this case, this issue really about? And speak to it from really your soul, as though your audience is full of, 7 to 12-year-olds. And keep it very clean and use very simple language. Explain things in as few words as possible, as quickly as possible, but not feeling time crunch. And just really quieting the chatter and saying what's most important. We have all these alternative, dialogues going on in our head at any given point.
All the time.
But when you're presenting to an audience or, doing social media content, you really need to settle it all down and stay focused on one word after another, one point after another. And I've never read off of a teleprompter. I don't even know how to, really. But I get my argument and everything whittled down to like 5 or 3 main points.
3 is the best, yeah.
And I have to be able to see it, from a distance, so that I don't have to keep going back to some notes. I can see it from far away, stay on track, and just say the thing that needs to be said.
Yeah. All right. Well, I love that.
Well, and let's end with this question because I think it's kind of fun. What do you wear that makes you feel powerful? Like, if you have to pick one thing that really matters.
Color, style.
Yeah, color, style. Well, like for me, it's high heels. Like if I want to feel strong and got it going on, then I need to make sure that I have the right heels on.
Let's get the heels up. Get the heels up.
That's what I'm going to wear. Right? So I'm just curious, April, what's your thing?
So one of my new things, because sometimes, like I said, you'll see me like this or you'll see me in yoga wear, but I like to wear my cross and my Chanel earrings.
Okay,
so
nice.
It shows like the
balance.
different facets of my personality.
Okay.
Nice.
I love that. This is such a good question. I'm not man enough for heels, but I do love suits. I love a matching jacket, skirt, pants. Like, I love that crisp, polished power suit.
I agree.
My closet's full
Head
of
to toe. Dawn?
Yes. I would say I'm with you. I mean, heels. Right, very important. And then I have a necklace that is my grandmother's that she wore always when I was growing up, that I have, and anytime I'm going into court, I have that necklace on. It's just a real simple little diamond necklace, and that just makes me actually not necessarily powerful, but safe and grounded, you know. And I think when
And
you're trying to
with
do
you.
big things, yes, when you're trying
She's
to do
with
big things, the most important thing is to feel safe and grounded. So
Well, this was
So
just
true.
a really fun little circle of events and talking about branding through your image. And if you have any questions, please comment below or email us at hello@ladiesinlaw.com. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you.